I know I can depend on my barber to give me the perfect haircut every time. I respect his skill and commitment to his job. He's proudly serving Jamaica with his talent. Respect is also due to my bus conductor. He ensures that I am not left behind and I get on board safely. He is serving Jamaica steadfastly and honestly. It's good to see the police protecting and reassuring with courtesy. She is proudly honoring her pledge to work dutifully in the service of her fellow citizens. My journey through life is unfolding every day. I rely on a lot of people to help me to progress along the way. My family, my friends, and my fellow Jamaicans. With their support, I have a future in which great things are possible. I pledge my heart forever to serve Jamaica, our shining homeland, with pride.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with CranWata, a Stanley and Empress Production, giving the youth a voice.
And so we come to know these youths and show these youths. Talk up yourself, the youths to know them roots. Nurture them, protect and love and hear these youths. Music make them know I love we show these youths.
Mr. Save the youth, I kill the youth, I talk up youth, I build the youth, I trick and fool and pill the youth, I talk up youth, I build the youth, empower and then skill the youth, I talk up youth, I build the youth, talk up youth in Jamaica, we are
kill the youths there.
Talk up youth in Jamaica.
Hi everyone, my name is Jahnoy, future Prime Minister of Jamaica, and this is my story. Alright, so I grew up in a community called Garden Pen, where I grew with my mother, my sister. In that community, a lot of persons there didn't usually attend schools and so on. But my mother wasn't the type of person who took stupidity. So we had to attend school, we had to keep our grades up. Well, my mother met a gentleman. He became my stepfather, then a year later, I got my brother. We continued what we were doing until I was about 12. My mother moved to Kitzentown. Now, Kitzentown is a rural area in St. Catherine, way up in the country area, really. And I had to continue primary school in Spanish Town and live in Kitzentown. Then, fortunately, I passed for the best high school in Jamaica, Calabar High School. Now, attending Calabar High School was a weird experience for me because it was a high school of all boys. And all boys from all different backgrounds. So things got a bit rougher. But I had to stick with my schoolwork. I had to keep my grades up because my mother was no nonsense. Grade 7, I was first in my class. Grade 8, I was first in my class. Grade 9, unfortunately, my mother passed away. Now, this affected me really, really badly because I was a mother's boy, so to speak, or a mama's boy. And I didn't know how to cope with it because she was the only person that I spoke to about anything. So anything related to school, social life, she was the only person that I talked to about it. My relationship with my mother was a very close relationship. Like whenever I don't go to school, I normally go to work with my mother. Whenever I do go to school, I don't go home without my mother. To the point where she usually just cut my lunch money in half because she was saying that she's going to pay my taxi fare anyways. So traveling from Calabar to Kitzentown, what I normally do is stop in Spanish Town and wait for her at work or work with her, assist her with whatever she was doing because at the time she was a merchandiser at Ramson's. So she worked in various stores. So I would just travel to various stores with her throughout Spanish Town and then work with her until it's time for us to go home. I would talk about any and everything. I was always the one that she would say, she don't really necessarily need to help me with schoolwork. But even without needing her help, I always ask her if there's something that she can assist me with. Even if I know the answer already, just to start a conversation. And in 9th grade, when I was just starting 9th grade, I was a bit disappointed because I knew I came first in my class in 8th grade, but I was just thinking that was the only thing I did. I didn't do anything else. I should have done something else, and she was there encouraging me that it cannot be the only thing because she knows me, and years go by, it wasn't ever the only thing that I've done. So we were there, and this was actually the first prize giving we actually didn't travel with each other. This was the first year that she said I should go before her and then she would show up after me. So while at school, going around, looking on the notice boards to see the list of prizes that persons would be getting, surprisingly I saw that I would be receiving 3 prizes instead of just the 1. So I was there now thinking that, oh, my mother was right the whole time. Then suddenly I got the phone call from my sister saying that unfortunately she won't be able to make it. Me being a bit disappointed now, get a bit upset, asking why she wasn't going to be able to make it. My sister gave me the news that she had actually just passed out and she's not responsive. Now, I didn't even remember where I was at the time because this was just like, I don't know how to express that feeling right now, but it was very, very traumatizing to the point where I just started to just walk around the school. Just walk around. Went into my classroom, leave my classroom, walk around. Prize giving ceremony was beginning. I couldn't handle it anymore, so I went to my grade 9 teacher at the time, who became my third mom, Mrs. Greenwood. Now, she's the person that actually left the prize giving ceremony, even though she had a speech to give on that day, and carried me to the hospital where I actually was able to see my mother at the time. On reaching the hospital and just seeing my mother laying there, I really can't even express how I feel at that point. I just felt cold, and disconnected. I saw my sister crying, I saw my little brother crying as well. But I was just, it was one of those pains where you just couldn't cry at the time. And there was like a frog at your throat that you just couldn't get out. You're trying to swallow, but you can't swallow. You're trying to think, but you can't think. And you're just there in the moment, can't even speak. So after her passing, I really didn't know who else to talk to. I really didn't know what else to do or how to express myself. Because as you know, people have the assumption that men are supposed to be strong and not show emotions. So because I decided to just keep everything to myself. So I became a bit withdrawn, not talking to anybody, antisocial and so forth. But Miss Jarrett at Calabar Guidance Counselor realized this and decided that she's going to assist with it. Mr. Rowe as well decided that he is going to become the father in my life that I needed. Because my stepfather took it a bit rough and wasn't really there. And my father himself wasn't really there in the picture either. So throughout that time, they assisted me. Before they took over, I was really depressed. Depressed to the point where I was thinking about, all right, should I really continue living? Because I had the assumption that I can't live without my mother. But they had taken me in, showed me various ways in which I could express myself to help others while helping myself. My mother always argued me about persons who commit suicide, saying that if they commit suicide, it's not doing something to them, it's doing something to people around them. Because we have heard stories of persons committing suicide. And these are some sad stories for the persons who were left behind and not necessarily for them. So every time I'm at the point of doing it, I just keep remembering that she was saying, don't really commit suicide. If this is how your life is supposed to go, that's how your life is supposed to go. And her favorite saying is, God will never give you anything that you can't bear. So in my mind, and from then on, I just continue thinking that God really believes that I'm a really strong guy.
We have to build the youths there.
Up Yout in Jamaica.
There is no other bun like this one. The flavor is so good. Who say bun can't sweet? Oops, mind you bite your finger.
National spiced buns, baked with national pride.
My wow moment.
My wow moment.
CranWata with wow.
me get 16 at maths and me never expect so much. That's my wow.
CranWata with wow. When school over, I'ma get for me yard. That's my wow.
Water with wow.
From me get my back food, that's my wow. CranWata with wow.
Water with wow.
We have to build the youths there.
Up Yout in Jamaica.
Understanding when there is a problem. Understanding how to deal with the problem. Understanding that experiencing a problem does not make you different.
Happy Mental Health Awareness Day 2018 from all universities, girls.
And remember, to be healthy as a whole, mental health awareness plays a role.
Stop the stigma. Are you really fine?
Alright, so for me, I have started a campaign on campus and regionally for mental health awareness. So I have personal experience with mental illness because for me, when I was younger, after the passing of my mother, I suffered from mild depression, or let's say severe depression, to the point where I became suicidal. So we need to get out of the conception that we should not seek help, we should not talk about it, because talking about it actually helps. As much as how people can say, all right, this is really cliche, saying talking about your feelings, helping you to express yourself really helps, but there are a lot of different methods to express yourself. For me, one of the methods was doing visual arts. Now, doing visual arts can help you to relieve stress, express yourself in a way that you don't regard, well, you think you can express yourself in words. And this way you can basically get over some of your mental illness issues. Another way you can get over it is talking to people. Now, if you're a person who has gone through it before, I think you would be the best person to assist somebody in getting over mental illness. Because if you can relate to them, then it's easier for them to say, all right, you more than likely will understand my story. And if you can give them friendly advice, then it will be easier for you now and them to basically have a better relationship and assist them in finding ways in which they can help others. Just like you can pass disease, you can pass cures. And that's something like for mental illness. If you assist a person, show them that you care, show them that you actually notice them, they now can be out of their mental illness or mental ill state, develop a sense of confidence and start assisting somebody. Because for me, Miss Jared, who is the guidance counselor at my high school when I went through my tragic situation, she was a person that assisted me. Now, I'm not sure if she had a tragic situation, but she more than anybody understood what I was going through, and then she helped me to develop ways in which I could assist other persons. So you can just use that as a way to assist people. You can basically excel in life by just excelling and telling people that you have excelled, tell people about your past and how that can assist them to do way better with their future. It's a way to basically encourage persons to continue doing better. Look at the program Profile. Anybody watch Profile?
Everybody watches.
All right, exactly. Now, when you hear the stories of the persons on Profile, what do you think?
Inspiring, uplifting.
All right, and after watching one of those episodes, say a university graduate who received a scholarship, who is now leaving for, say, London per se, and they come on the program telling you about their difficult past of maybe sleeping in the library and not having food and so on, or going through some tragic situation in their past. How do you feel after that?
Well, most people feel like I can make it to anything. If they did it, I can do it too. So.
Precisely, and that is basically how it works. So you pass physical disease, but you can pass the cure for mental health. or mental illness. I was suicidal. I planned on killing myself through taking various pills that I saw around the house. I didn't know what they were for, but I was just saying, if I take several of them, the mixture might do something that will basically maybe not cause as much pain, but would just end the misery. I also thought about cutting my wrist as well. I kind of did a few of that, but it wasn't really something that did any effect. But it also caused another kind of obsession in itself, where I continued after the fact that I tried and failed, but I continued cutting myself. Until Miss Jarrett actually realized that my hands were always bruised or always have some slice marks. I tried to hide it from her for a few months, but it didn't really work, but I tried. In grade 10, I was able to represent the school in Canada for the Emerging Global Leadership program, where I learned various skills in leadership and mentoring others. Continuing on that path, I continued to become a student council rep and so on. In grade 11, I sat 8 subjects where I got 7 1s and a 2. These were all paid for through the school, thanks to Calabar and Mr. Rowe. Moving into 6th form, first year of 6th form, I became the student council president, helping other students who were seen as mischievous, but really, they weren't really mischievous. They were lacking attention or having some difficulty. After that, I became head boy of Calabar High School. This was a drastic change because now I'm no longer helping the students, but helping them and helping the administration. Leaving from Calabar, I was successful in the Jamaica Stock Exchange high school game, where I came 2nd place. Then moving on to university, I entered the Young Investor competition, where I actually won that competition. Stepping to university, I did not know where a cent was coming from to start university, but fortunately for Calabar again, they paid for my first year, and because they paid for my first year, I was able to get my grades up, keep my grades up, and get the Young Investor scholarship from Jamaica Stock Exchange. Throughout those years, I continued to go around, speak to students, encourage them, tell them my story, hope that motivates them to do better, show them that you don't necessarily have to be of the best background or have the best life to get something or to do something great. And I'm currently the vice president of the UMONA Guild, currently finished my undergrad program and going into my master's in corporate finance.
We have to build the youths there.
Up Yout in Jamaica.
Wait. Take a bite of National Giant Hardo. Nothing comes close. How do you hardo? Bread and patty? Bread and butter? National Giant Hardo bread, baked with national pride.
When you're ready. Ready? Oh, wait, me from the fall off. Ready now? Come and get new bundles and makeup now. That's my wow. Water with wow. Just get that song full of gas. That's my wow. Water with wow. Roads one there. Water with wow. The way me when we reach a foreign. I when the plane touchdown in New York. That's my wow. Water with wow.
We have to build the youths there.
Up Yout in Jamaica.
Hi, Jahnoy. I'm Julian Robinson. I'm the Member of Parliament for South East St. Andrew. I'm also the General Secretary of the People's National Party, and I'm the Opposition Spokesman on Science and Technology. I heard that you want to get involved in politics. They say it's either mad people get involved in politics. So you need to tell me why you want to get involved in politics.
Alright, so growing up, I've been in various leadership capacities. From primary school, I've been head boy. In the high school, I became
Which primary school you went to?
Angels Primary.
Okay.
And I was also student council president.
Okay.
And then moving on further, going to the guild, being treasurer, and now VP. Alright, throughout I was thinking about going into finance. So I was always thinking about doing like something in the bank or so forth. I always like saying I'm going in politics as a joke. Because people always say, alright, politics, you seem like someone who fit into politics and so on. But I was always thinking that I'm more of a corporate bank person until working at a bank.
Right.
Now working at a bank, I worked in various departments, part-time tellers, and then 2 loans. Now doing loans, coming from my background of being poor, having now to push loans onto poor people, I felt like this was a bit hypocritical given the fact that I know how it is for you to not have money, yet to put yourself now in debt. So it's not, banking is something that I don't see myself doing anymore.
So you have always held leadership positions, and based on your leadership positions, you want to be more involved at a national level. The first thing I would tell you, almost similar to you, I was a vice president of the guild. When I was in school, I was student council, house captain, a number of these things. And I think that prepares you well in terms of leadership positions and being able to articulate and advocate. But the first thing I'll tell you about entry into politics, I think is important to have a level of independence. And by independence, I mean be economically independent. And to be economically independent, you need to establish yourself professionally, or if you're an entrepreneur, something entrepreneurial. But tell me a little bit, I was reading your background, you lost your mom when you were 15 and you went through a difficult period. Tell me how you were able to deal with that to get to the point where you have completed your degree and now you're moving on to your master's.
So that is mainly through the help I received at Calabar, because we had a few persons there, like Miss Green, who was my grade 9 teacher at the time, the guidance counselor, Miss Jarrett, and Mr. Rowe, who is now the vice principal still. He's been the vice principal since then and he's still the vice principal now. They have assisted me in various ways, giving me opportunities to basically express myself and to help others and help myself, finding different mediums and showing me different ways of how I could cope throughout and showing me that really that has happened, but we still have to continue, we still have to do better. They constantly remind me of how my mother was, the ideologies that she had, and that we should continue. So that is just some of the ways that they helped me to cope. Mr. Rowe, for example, is one of the persons who assisted me the most, because since grade 9 through grade 12, 13, he was there as like my father figure who I could talk to about anything, assisted me financially when I couldn't meet certain deadlines, for example, when we have exams and so forth. Miss Greenwood, she's the person who spearheaded a scholarship that I got for first year in university, because I really never know how I was going to start university, but I decided that I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to start university, something will work out. It has been working out and it did work out.
I think your story is a great success story of someone who dealt with adversity. I lost my mother in 2000, which would be about 18 years ago. I was an adult, so I know how difficult it was. And as an adult, it was, I would say, it's the most difficult thing I've ever dealt with in my entire life. So I know how difficult it would have been, but you were able to deal with that, to do well at university and now going on to postgrad. And I think you have good ideas. You have a plan in terms of how you want to transition your life, your entrepreneurial ideas, then get involved in politics. And I think you are a good role model for many of the young men out there, many of whom don't see the importance of education or have come across obstacles, different obstacles. I mean, you went by faith. You didn't know how you were going to fund your education, but you did well enough to get a scholarship and that's important. But I think, you know, you have the right perspective about being involved. And sometimes, you know, you can plan your life and you can try and work it out to a T. Things don't always fall in line with how you plan them, but you have to prepare yourself for opportunities that might come up. And I just want to encourage you to do well in your postgraduate studies, continue to be active in your leadership positions, and be a shining example. I think one of the challenges we have in Jamaica is that there are not enough positive young role models. We have entertainers who have done well, we have some sportsmen who have done well, but we don't see enough of those people who just do the 90%, who go to school, study hard, go to university, do well, start a business, become entrepreneurs. And I think you're a good example of that. But I just want to wish you all the best in whatever you choose to pursue. Politics, business, corporate world, and to continue to be a role model and a shining example for those young people around you. All right?
Thanks.
Thanks much.
Alright, so one thing I'd like to say to my mom now, I never gave up. I'm continuing to do the thing that you had worked so hard for me to go to school, for me to get everything that you say you never had in the past.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with CranWata, a Stanley and Empress Production, giving the youth a voice.